And you were speaking about influences, obviously like dark comedy, and like there's been a lot of very iconic films from that. Obviously, like comes to mind immediately would be like Fargo from like Coen Brothers, and like I guess can you kind of speak to like that influence? Was that kind of on your mind a little bit when you were kind of coming up with the story and like trying to capture that tone because it's such an iconic like film in like dark comedy?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Fargo left such an impression on me when I watched it when I was much younger. And of course, in just having gone through all the Coen Brothers catalog, I'm a huge fan. Coen Brothers, yeah, some Guy Ritchie. It was like, yeah, just an amalgamation, I guess, of all the things that I love. But I feel like when it comes to comedy, my favorite kinds of comedy are when it's grounded in reality. And the comedy comes through characters who are real being put in extreme and absurd situations. That's always resonated for me as like the funniest kind of comedy more than just like a broad style comedy. So with this, yeah, very much just try to play into that tone and into that style. And then, of course, I'm just a huge fan of like Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm. So that also found its way in as like an influence, and that certainly influenced our Tully series. But with this one, I definitely wanted to explore like a darker tone because I
Mm.
feel like through the darkness, you get a lot of comedy, especially if you can balance it right.
Was there any like improv going on? Like were you giving them room to kind of do like a little bit of improvisation between each other?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a big fan of improvisation and, we obviously had the script, but I was always encouraging the actors to play and to come up with their own lines, put things in their own words. For me, those are the nuggets that, we get them right. Those moments absolutely make it into the cut.
And I guess like obviously when you do that, you can get some great moments, but also like that can leave a lot of like stuff on the cutting room floor. So like, were there any like moments or scenes that you kind of wish that you could have gotten in there that you just couldn't?
Yeah, there were some lines and some moments that, I tried, but sometimes depending on where you're at in the film and the pace and like where the story is, you sometimes just want to keep the pace going. And then if you're letting it stop and letting it pause for random ramblings of improv, which are funny,
Yeah.
the timing of that comedy may not be right for where you are like in the narrative. So that was actually a big lesson I learned in this film because I was always just like, let's put it in, let's put it in. My editor was like, yeah, but we should be moving along now because, we're about to hit the third act and things need to keep going. It's maybe not a good idea for the lawyer to start talking about, I don't know, that he's got a bad back or,
Yeah.
or whatever. Needs to go to the physio for the bad back. So yeah, so there were certainly some moments that, just couldn't make it in, but that's how it goes.
How do you kind of find that balance between like the humor and the comedy of it versus like kind of like the craziness that is also happening on screen at the same time?
Yeah, it's a good question because to be honest, I don't know how I do it. It's like it's not conscious. Like I think I use comedy as a device of surprise. So if things are dark and serious, if you throw something in that's comedic, it surprises the audience and it's funny and unexpected. So I use that as a device a lot. But then I did try when things were getting a bit more emotional and especially with the characters and you're dealing with a bit more heart in the scene, I would try and step down, yeah, just kind of rest the comedy
Mm.
in those moments. Just let the moments be what they needed to be or the authenticity be what it needed to be. But for the most part, I'm always finding a gag in every scene and, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it is a balance. And I think it's something that's intuitive. And when I'm watching it, I can feel if it's right or not. But it's a difficult one to articulate. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of reminded me of Barry, which is, I mean, a show that came out recently that got a lot of love for a lot of reasons, and like it's one that resonated with me. And I very similar. They had like very very dark, violent moments, but then like seconds later be like undercut by like this comical moment that maybe shouldn't have been comical, but ended up being even funnier because of like the situation that he was in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Barry, they did really well in that show.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when shit goes down, it goes down.
They
But
don't hold
then,
back.
as you said, the next thing you're killing yourself laughing, and the characters are so good.
Which also kind of brought me like, what's some of your favorite scenes? Because there is a scene in there that reminded me of Barry specifically. Like, I'm sure you maybe know what I'm talking about. Like, they go in to capture this woman, and she ends up being like this martial artist. And like, I don't know if there's a connection between Barry, because Barry also had a very similar scene where they like had a whole.
I think that scene was absolutely inspired by Barry. I love that. I love that episode, and I think I can't remember during the writing phase or whatever, but I just felt like that's an example of characters being in a real situation and then discovering something which is so crazy. That is so funny. So like that cutting across the seriousness and the darkness is just so great. I probably just felt compelled to steal that because I loved it so much.
I mean, it was definitely a standout from this movie, and I saw a stand up for Barry. I was like, hold on, like now I think about it. I didn't catch it at first, but now I was thinking about the connection to Barry. I was like, oh, he had kind of a similar scene in that where like there was like this little girl in there that I thought he could just do whatever, and then turns out she's like this world class martial artist, and like I was like, oh, okay, I kind of see like maybe a connection there.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a connection there. It's just too good.